The Pinball Network is online. Launching
Pinball Innovators and Makers Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Pinball Podcast focused on the innovators and makers who are crafting homebrew, custom, and rethemed pinball machines, the technology that makes these personal projects possible, and the companies helping with these journeys. Custom pinballs are a deeply personal and technically challenging undertaking, requiring time, money, knowledge, and most importantly, the desire to make it happen. I'm Dan Rosenstein, your host. Join me and let's go under the playfield and see what's needed to make a custom pinball possible. So today on the podcast, I've got Mike Pegg from Alabama. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Mike Pegg. I live in a little bitty rural area of Alabama called Mumford on a little river out in the middle of nowhere. I'm barely able to stream with Dan. We have to pipe sunshine in here where I'm at. And we recently got shoes and we're learning to tie them ourselves.
Mike, how long have you lived in Alabama?
I moved here in '85. I'm a military family. My dad was Army, retired here. My mom was Navy.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for their service. Were you in the service as well, by any chance?
No, actually, I did not because I lived in it my whole life growing up. But my son did go. He's been in 21 years, and my middle daughter was in for 3.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all their service, and thank you for your service adjacent. So real quick, let's start with let's hear a little bit about yourself. We know you're from Alabama. You come from a military family. What are some of your interests, hobbies, and then from there, why don't you go into your pinball backstory?
Honestly, I am a jack of all trades, master of none. I grew up in a farm in Ohio. We did everything ourselves. So,
I'm from Ohio as well, originally.
No kidding.
So, yeah.
Actually, a little town called Sherdsville, but it's out near Atwood Lake, Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, I'm from Northeastern Ohio as well. That's funny.
Wow, fantastic.
Anyways, go on.
But we grew up doing everything ourselves. So had to learn carpentry, electrical, all that, plumbing, all that. So when we moved down here, I built my own barn dominium. I have a metal building that I built a house inside of.
Wait, hold on a sec. Did you say barn dominium?
Yeah. So what you do is you take a metal warehouse and then you build a apartment inside of it. And then you have a shop and an apartment inside of like a metal warehouse. It's really awesome. I mean, 25 years ago when I did it, I was crazy. Now everybody's doing it. So,
well, that's the proof that you're onto something, right? 25 years ago, I was wearing flannels and corduroys, and they're finally popular again. So there you go. All right, keep going with your story. So
anyway, I'm kind of into everything. I build custom guitars. I have a shop called Big Deal Customs. I built hot rods for years until the housing bubble popped back several years ago. And man, I've been into a little bit of everything. I built all the furniture in my home. I built my home myself. So I can do a little bit of everything. I'm an electrician by trade. I have an electronics degree in old school electronics. When DOS was the primary programming function in the world.
Hey, for some of us, we still use DOS, Mike.
Yeah. So, and I'm a ladder logic guy, if then kind of stuff. So that's my background.
Well, that's pretty cool because ladder logic is, game rules are, at least some relatively straightforward game rules are a lot of ladder logic. And you mentioned carpentry, which clearly has come through in the build that you're working on, and also you mentioned electronics and electrical. I don't know if you've used any plumbing in the project, but we'll talk about that a little bit as we go through the build.
That's actually for the next one.
Maybe it'll be a water themed game. Fathom 3 maybe. So like tell the listener a little bit about like what makes you tick and kind of how you approach the hobby. How you approach custom building. How you describe yourself?
I am an OCD, ADHD type person. I listened to Ernie's podcast last week, and Ernie and I are very similar. He's actually one of the first to ever reach out to me. In August, I had bought a few machines, $300 garbage machines. None of them works. None of them still work, except for old Game Plan Coney Island that I've managed to make sparingly work.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and actually, that's one of my favorite games of all time. But
Mike, did you play that as a kid, or it like once you got it, it became one of your favorites?
No, actually, I never got to play any game plans as a kid. The first pinball machine that I ever put my hands on was a Knight Rider,
Oh, cool.
an EM machine. It was at a little gas station that was everything in town. It was the mortuary, the funeral home, the gas station, the little general store. And that's not a joke. Mr. Baxter was like the kingpin of Shursville, Ohio. So,
I was about to make the joke. Was the owner also the mayor? And then there you go. You just said it.
Kind of, yes. So yeah, yeah. But Mr. Baxter was a really good guy, and but he had a Knight Rider, and then I remember a Harlem Globetrotters came in, and I was hooked from that moment on, and I have sought machines out most of my life. I went through the video game phase when Pong and its Space Invaders hit and all that stuff. But eventually, as the PlayStations all, which I'm into those two, I have gravitated back towards the pinball because of the feedback, the feel, the putting your hands on something, the sounds, the whistles, the bells, the lights,
Yep.
it's hypnotizing.
That's so cool that you remember that Knight Rider so fondly. So you mentioned the episode with Ernie, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because when you and I were kind of like first chatting to do the podcast, you listened. It was right when I had dropped episode 2, the first interview with Ryan, and or Kyle, excuse me. And you told me that episode was a 7 out of 10. And so I wanted to know from you, how would you, and you said you were a tough grader and a tough critic, which is completely fair. I wanted to know what you thought of episode 3 and how you would have rated that.
With Ernie, that was more on my level. So I would say 8 or 9. And because the first guy was interesting, don't get me wrong, but it was out of my league. Ernie is a guy like myself. Ernie has a lot more program savvy than I do, but Ernie falters on the carpentry and build side. So watching Ernie go through these struggles, and I get Ernie's been really cool about being privy with me on getting to see stuff, and he'll send me pictures ahead of time before he puts them online. So, hey man, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And I don't know why the guy is so amazingly nice, but I gravitated towards Ernie quickly. And he listens to all my dumb questions. He will take time out of his day when I text him and say, "Hey, Ernie, I'm stumped," or "Hey, how does this look to you?" And every time I get a little heart emoji, and it's always followed by "That's amazing," or "You're killing it," or "That's awesome." And he has been one of the top 5 guys for being supportive to me. And when I stepped into this, Dan, I had not any contact with Strictly Custom Pinball or Pinside. I didn't know about any of this stuff before August. And I bought this Space Invaders with the idea of retheming it for Big Deal Customs for my shop. And when I got it home, the legs fell off. It broke and hit the ground. It was full of mold. The wood was rotted out. So it's actually at a burn pile in my yard right now, sadly. And then I just started building a cabinet with no dimensions. I just kind of winged it and got similar to what was already there. So I jumped into something like Ernie, where he said feet first instead of head first, because that's my character. I'm a guy who I was taught you can't be beat by anything that's material. If it can't think for itself, it can't beat you. So I took that, head on, and I went in and started building this cabinet, started posting pictures. And then Jake Danzig reached out to me, and I don't know how he even saw it, but he said, "Hey, I got this thing going on called Simply Custom Pinball." So I jumped on there and, started meeting some of these people, said, "Hey, there's this place called Pinside." And that's been extremely helpful and hurtful in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably equally as many trolls as there are people on who want to, push you forward. So
You mentioned, just real quick, you mentioned Jake and Kyle and Ernie and yourself. Like, it's great meeting nice, good, helpful people. And I absolutely agree with you. Pinside can be extremely toxic, but that said, there are those nuggets. And what I found is the custom group on Pinside, as well as Strictly Customs, which Jake runs, as you said, and Ernie's community on Discord, are all great places to get help, find people who are just good human beings, helpful, kind, just want to see the best in each other. And I'm really glad. Like, one of the things that I've been enjoying about doing this podcast is meeting new people who share that positive aspect of pinball. And I think that's awesome. I think part of it, is that those that create or are interested in the creating and the making have to keep a positive attitude. Otherwise, they don't get through the project. And so, and we'll talk about that some more. So that said, my goal for this episode is to get. I had originally listed better than a 7.5 from you, but since you said Ernie's episode was an 8, I'm going for an 8.5 today with you. So let's give the listener a killer show. And one thing that you told me is that you were going to give me 3 minutes of real info and 27 minutes of BS. So I'm holding you to that for this one.
That's good, because I've already burned up all the information that I had for you, Dan.
I think there's a couple more. So
I think I used up my stuff too quickly. I should have sparsely put it out there instead of using it all in one 2 minute span.
Well, let's see if I can earn my keep then, because they pay me so much that maybe my questions will lead us to a couple more minutes of good content, and then we can splice together a 3 minute.
It's a huge responsibility being a big star, Dan.
Yeah. So let's start with what does homebrew and custom mean to you? You and I had some dialogue back and forth as the Twippies were being announced, and you had some good thoughts there. And I don't necessarily have to agree with your perspective, and the listener doesn't have to agree with your perspective, but I think you've got a voice and thoughts. So let's hear about it. Let's hear what your thoughts are about homebrew and custom.
Well, my biggest beef, I think, with the whole homebrew community is the separation of what we're doing as opposed to what our abilities are. Like I said, I can build wood, I can do a lot of electronics, but I'm really out of my realm of my knowledge. I've been winging this for the last couple months. After the cabinet part was over and I started on the playfield, I went into absolute backwards compatibility. So I think in the homebrew community, I had explained to you the other day that I think, it's like building a house or buying a house and renovating it. Did you build your house from the ground up, or did you buy a house and you renovated it? If you renovated it, it's a retheme. If you build it from the ground up, it's a homebrew. Did I build it at home, or did I, buy something and put a different facade on it? So, and I think a lot of people take me wrong in that aspect, because I have no doubt that the work involved in a homebrew or a retheme are equally as impossible to get done as the other. There is no differential to me. I mean, you take an entire machine, take it all apart, you're already in trouble. The first wire you pull loose, you're creating problems in pinball. It's like, and then, oh, did I take pictures? Oh my God, where did that go? It's on the drawings.
And Mike, let's be clear. Even if you took pictures, the picture wasn't at the right angle for the thing that you're going to need later on, or the lighting wasn't right, or it was blocked by something, and the schematic doesn't have the exact information you need when you're rebuilding it.
You are so correct, because I am in the home stretch on my homebrew now. I turned it on. The magic smoke did not come out, by the way, which is a huge accomplishment. So just the fact that the flippers will kind of flip and stuff like that is great. But my problem is my schematics are wrong. And I've got intermittent little things going on, and I've changed a lot of things. I've swapped over, parts and stuff like that. So what I thought was going to be a homebrew and a simple, hey, I'm just going to retheme this thing, has turned into an absolute fiasco, and like a bank heist that's gone bad. So I'm in the bank right now with bags of money in my hand, and I have no escape plan.
Well, that's part of doing this podcast. Let's see if we can get you an escape route. Maybe Ernie, myself, and others can be your proverbial guy in the chair who's going to
Could
help
you
you
get
get out of
about
there.
6 guys to just roll in down here at my house and go through this thing with me? That would be even better.
So, Mike, it's actually funny you say that. A professional pinball company, and in fact, anybody who professionally makes something is usually not just a one person show. They usually have a few people doing software development, a person doing game rules, another one doing game design, another group of people who actually build the cabinets, and another art department, it control systems engineers, mechanical engineers, and so all of us who go down this route of a retheme or a custom or a homebrew, whether it's a renovation project, a restoration project, or a full complete build, um, all of us take on roles, some of which are in our wheelhouse and some of which are not. As an example, I am not a carpenter. Like, can I use power tools? Absolutely. But I do not have the gift of the craft of working with wood. Like, I can construct a box, and that's, that's my
Yeah.
limit. I happen to be a control systems engineer. And so once I get under the play field, I'm very comfortable. And so I would absolutely love, a week or a weekend of getting together in your what do you call it? Your condo
My
barn,
barn dominium.
barn dominium with, like, folks that are good at art, and folks, you with woodworking and cabinetry, and like just go to town and build a pinball machine from scratch. I think that would be like the world's coolest thing. Unfortunately, the real world gets in our way, and we've got lives and jobs and kids and etc. And so I think the next best thing is doing these types of interviews, talking to people when we're, we have the ability to go to shows. As we're recording this when Texas Pinball Festival is going on. I'm sure the folks that are there are having a great time talking customs. And so let's do the same here. So what are some customs that have given you inspiration?
Uh, uh, First, well, right off the bat, Ernie's League of Legends is absolutely mind blowing to me. Watching that, I have watched that evolve from a partial playfield to the second playfield to his third playfield to his upper playfields, and watching Ernie go through the shots and be willing to take stuff apart that he has worked hard on and then discard it for something newer and different, and taking those risks is just mind blowing. Um, Elf, I think, is fantastic. Um, is it Tanner Petch? Is that how you say his name?
I honestly don't know. Let's go with that, and
Okay.
hopefully he'll forgive us if we said it wrong.
Yeah, well, and he's the one that did Trashland, and he's got some. That guy is out of the box. The out of the box builders. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Ernie stuff. I love that. But in my opinion, I get all the time on custom pages like, hey, which regulation cabinet did you use? I'm the wrong guy to ask about regulation. I don't give two cat farts about regulation sizes. The word custom in itself means I can do whatever the crap I want to do. So when I start on a project, I'm not looking at what other people have done, because the idea of custom is what's in my brain. And I have that vision where I see things finished before I start them. I don't know if you've noticed, I'm a painter. I
Yeah.
did all the custom paint on my stuff. I've painted tons of custom guitars and things like that. So, and I dabble in a little bit of everything. But, so when I set out something, like that's what got me in trouble on this one, Dan. I already had a vision. I didn't lay out shots. I didn't lay out where the ball's going to roll. I just started putting crap on there, and I'm just going crazy. And I'm just like, putting lights in there. And, oh, this is going to look cool here. And then I don't know if you know that I dropped my first playfield and busted it.
Yeah,
Which,
that was back in late October, right?
yeah. So my
Yeah.
girlfriend said that she thought somebody died here because I literally moped around this house for days, and she really got on my butt about that. And because I'm not a quitter, and that one it broke my heart, Dan. I'm not gonna lie, that hurt me. But
Yeah.
when I
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
when I started back and I got the new playfield, I thought, you know what? The ramp shot wasn't going to work. The orbit wasn't going to work. Maybe this time I should try to see where those are going to go first, and then build the playfield around the cool paint and all that stuff afterwards.
So, you said a number of things that I had taken down in my notes as I was doing pre-prep, and like let's just go right into them. So the first thing is, I think your story is really drill first. It's not even head first. So that's how we're going to summarize it.
Yeah.
It's it's actually a fantastic learning that it's really unfortunate that you dropped the playfield. I completely understand it being like someone in the family had died, and you taking it that personally. But I really love the fact that you took out of it a learning experience for, and really good wisdom to share with the community at this point around lay out those shots, try those shots out, even if you are going drill first. As I say, you talked about the painting, and I actually wanted to key in on that. I'm going to be like, I'm completely honest with you. When I saw your cabinet and playfield for the first time, I think it was on Strictly, it might have been on Pinball Enthusiasts or Strictly Customs. I don't remember which one. I was like, oh my God, that color combination is horrific. I was like, that is the ugliest green I've seen. That is the ugliest purple I've seen. Like, there's these weird lines. Like, I'm being completely transparent. I am offering my
You're not the
100%.
first to tell me that, Dan. So it's not, and I'm not offended.
I'm offering you like my honest bias on it. And here's the thing, okay? As I watched your build unfold, and as we started talking over the months, I think we first connected back in January, I realized three things. The first one is, my God, I was wrong. Number two, this guy has a level of craftsmanship in build and paint that is above a professional level. Like, you can take a car or a pinball machine to a professional and they wouldn't get the type of work that you applied to your machine. Okay. It became evident as it unfolded. And the third one, oh, you're welcome. And the third one is something that you said very quickly, which I want to go back to, which is it became clear you had a vision in your head. Because fast forward to March 25th, a couple days ago, when you published the video of your first power on test and play, and you see the whole playfield, all the color combo, the purpose of the game being for your custom guitar shop, it became a cohesive unit. Okay. And you don't get that cohesive unit without a plan from the beginning. And those colors popped what you were trying to do. And I realized a long time ago, it was a number of months now, that I realized my initial impression was wrong. But to the community, what I want to say on that is, you see a paint job, don't look at it for what you see today, but what the designer or the custom builder or the maker, like Mike, are looking for when they're done with this project. Because Mike, it is a gorgeous work of art. So let's backtrack and tell the listener more about how you chose the green and purple, how it fits the theme, why those deliberate choices were taken.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I was in the car building thing for years and doing the hot rods, and the excuse me, and the colors are actually Dodge 70s colors. So the green is grabber green from the early Hemi cars.
The Cudas, yeah.
Is actually called Plum Crazy, which is also from the Dusters from the old Dodges. And several of the colors, the pink fades and all that thing that I put in there, were variations of cars that I have seen or done or worked on throughout the years. And I've back in the I want to say the mid to late 90s, we got into the Nopi thing a little bit, which was the little Fast and Furious cars, and built a few of those. And watching the color combinations that people would come to us, and we built several of those. And
were you building customs like for a living, or was it a hobby at this point?
Actually, it was a side gig. I've always been an electrician, but I've sold several cars. I've had a truck in a magazine before. Won several car shows with some custom Corvettes I had built and things like that. But just taking those aspects of things that I've seen that don't normally work together, and then putting them together in a correct manner, or how you overlay colors with other colors, makes them seem to be more vivid, it more pleasing to the eye than the average person would think. And my thoughts on this pinball was, I want it to be loud, and I want it to stand out. I want people to notice it when they walk in the room over every other pinball machine there. And that was really what I was going for, was being audacity, standoutish, loud, rude. People say, "Holy crap, what the," and that, like it or not, that's the first one they're going to go to in the room, Dan.
You're absolutely right. Like, look, you were talking about the specific names of the colors, and I happen to be a car guy as well. We can shoot the shit about that later on.
Awesome, yeah.
And when you said the green on the Dodge and I said the Cudas, I was like, oh my god, that's absolutely right. That's exactly where I was seeing the color. And to that point,
you saw it in your mind immediately.
And it didn't click until you just said it. But then when you go to a car show and you see a 70s Hemi Cuda, that's the car, green one. You go to that car first. You go to because it looks completely different. You're absolutely right on this.
Yeah. And that was my thought, was I wanted something to grab people. I wanted something that grabbed my attention, and something that I don't look at and get bored with all the time. My guy that helped me with my back glass, Nick McDaniel, he's in, it's called Dirty South Goodies. He races dirt bikes with me. We race cross country dirt bikes in a group called SECA, Southeast Cross Country Association. And Nick kind of reached out to me a little bit, and I was having some issues, and I reached out for help on Facebook. Hey, I need some graphics help. And I explained to Nick, I said, look, I want that cartoonish 70s, 80s retro pinball look on my back glass. Nick did one take on it, sent me a picture, and nailed it at the first go round. I was like, yeah, that's it, man. You got it, And then everything kind of started evolving back. And when I dropped the playfield and I decided it can be better, because Nick has just trumped my machine with his back glass. So, and that helped push me a little further, making the next look more realistic. The colors a little more vivid, and especially what are the little side rails called that support, paint them a little more vivid this time so that they match up and flow with because I see guys build these great machines and then they just have wood side rails or black side rails. Nothing wrong with that, but I wanted everything to flow, all the metal, all the wood, I made my legs custom, I laser cut Bigg Deal into my legs, they have crowns on them.
I was going to say you got the I was just about to say, you read my mind.
Yeah. So, and I thought, because there is only one leg in pinball. Every machine on the planet has the same legs. How is that custom? So, and that's something I'm looking into later, kind of like Ernie did with Trident. Is I'm talking to some guys now with some machine shops and looking into maybe doing custom laser engraved legs in the future.
That's awesome. That's super cool. And it's great that one of the things I love about being a control system engineer is that, and a robotics engineer, is that it brings multiple different disciplines together. In working with pinball, which is a giant control system, you've got electronics, you've got electrical systems, you've got software, you've got mechanical systems, you've got the cabinet. You're bringing a lot of expertise together. And the fact that you're bridging your custom car world and your bike world and your network together to make your machine better and the community better for it. Now that you're thinking about, doing legs, doing custom custom laser etching, I think it's absolutely awesome, and you should absolutely pursue that. And I can't wait to see how you go from a maker today to an innovator tomorrow that helps others, with product, with technology, with methodology. Like you should be teaching a master class on painting and color choice and cabinet construction and just like overall like mechanism layout, etc. And so with that, I want to talk about some of the things on your pinball machine, where you're at today. One of the most striking things besides the color is and I've seen many people commented on it, is one of your ramps has LED strips running across it. Talk to me about how you got to that, where that came from, what was the inspiration?
Well, being an electrician, I'm a commercial and industrial guy. I'm not a residential guy, but we do a lot of oddball things in some places. But I've been, in the pinball community, an LED strip is this one that comes on a little roll and it's $20 off Amazon. In my world, we have way better technology than that. And that's, and I hate to even touch on that, but actually, I think it's good for the pinball community to understand that pinball parts are not the end all be all. There is a whole world of innovation out there that can be used in pinball that these guys miss. Transformer guys are the worst. Hey, it's got to be a Williams transformer for Williams. Hey, we can't find transformers anymore with these multi-taps. Well, I don't know if they're aware. In my world, we use those every day in PLC cabinets and things like that. So we just order them from Electrical Supply House. So yeah, they're still out there.
Just call up Plaid and you'll get what you need.
Yeah. So the LED light thing, we've done those in like little hotels and things like that, and they have these neon strips, and you can't see the lights in them like you can through the cheaper ones where you can still pick out the hot spots. Mine does not have the hot spot issue. It looks like a continuous neon, and that's what I was going for. I really want the tube version, but they are extremely expensive to get an actual LED neon tube. They're like $80 a foot. So, cost is a prohibitive thing for me in my business. I have house payments, car payments,
Sure.
I work constantly. So, for right now, I did what I can, and I found the next best alternative for the time being.
That's awesome. So we'll post your Pinside link, if that's okay with you, for the show notes. And that way people can both contact you and see the progress of the build.
Absolutely.
So what's next? What's next for your machine? I know you're currently debugging through some issues. What are some improvements you want to make, and what do you want to do next with it, or with what's your next machine?
Well, right now I'm having some intermittent flipper problems. I'm having some phantom flip problems on my left side. I've got the dual flippers with the normally open close switches. I have a few more surprises in store for the cabinet. I have some of those lightning bulbs that you put where you touch and the electricity crackles and follows your hand. That will be going in.
That's awesome.
And as you know, I did an MP3 player with a jukebox in mine also. So when it's not being a pinball machine, you can actually pipe your music through it and play it as a jukebox. I have several auxiliary inputs, so I can do sound, radio, your phone, whatever, Spotify or whatever you like through the pinball machine.
So Mike, you bring up sound. This machine is a tribute to you and your custom guitar work and your custom automotive work. Have you considered getting guitar solos and riffs that you made into the machine? And do you know how to go about doing that?
I already have 12 samples recorded. I have the SparkFun Wave soundboard in there now. I'm having problems programming it because I'm an idiot. Now, I have a little recording studio of my own, and so I've already downloaded some stuff. I've got some great intro music ready for it. Guitar solo. Actually, I robbed that little thing from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure where they say excellent and go with the guitars. That pops, one of the sounds on the ramp. And then when you pop the special, it says, "'Cause I Feel Heavy Metal." By Blur, song number 2, things like that. I mean, I've got some great, I've got the intro when you pull the plunger back. It says, "Are You Ready" by Korn.
Oh, that's awesome.
And goes into Cult of Personality by Living Color and things like that. Sound has been a little tricky because I'm having to do switches on switches. I've been following some guys that have done that also. But overall, I think for not having a clue what in the crap I'm doing, Dan, I'm actually a lot further ahead right now than I really thought I was going to be in August.
And and the thing that's, it's been a relatively short amount of time. And the thing that, I enjoy seeing, and I really appreciate, is that you're enjoying it. You're having a great time with it. It is clear from when you talk about it, from when you I am about it, from when you post on Pinside or Strictly Customs, and then seeing your friends and your community outside of pinball, how they're embracing it because it's an extension of you. It's awesome. So Mike, we have a couple minutes left. And before we adjourn, like, is there anything that you want to tell the listener, like advice that you have, or things that you wish you would have known before you started this, or anything like that?
Honestly, Dan, I think the biggest message I really want to get out in this podcast, specifically because this is a homebrew podcast, is that I want to see these guys who are scared to death of this get involved. I reached out to Alltech, as I told you. Uh, Dave Seedman, I believe is his name, has been super helpful. You know, all these guys in the programming that know this stuff are not at all concerned by the programming side. I have no clue about that. The Arduinos, the all these little things that these guys are doing, they scare me to death. Um, but what I do know is there are a ton of machines out there, Bally's, Williams 95s, and all these other systems, System 11s, that have all these great features on these boards. Guys could take an Alltech board, for example, because that's what I'm using.
Mhm.
I took parts of Space Invaders and parts of other Bally games and moved the things around where I wanted them to. There are so many switches and bumpers and flippers and things. You don't need to learn for your first time or two to reprogram. You can
Just
repurpose
use them.
these manufactured boards. You can wire them. You can get a download of uh, the system drawings and schematics, and you can wire two flippers straight from an Alltech solenoid board and make them work right off the bat with a power supply. So my message, my biggest thing is to the guys who want to do this and are afraid of the programming, that should not hold you out back in this day and time. There are options out there. There are opportunities. There's guys like me taking risks because I honestly, Dan, I have no clue what the heck I'm doing, but I know how to read a schematic. I know that 48 volts flips a coil and you can turn it on and off. The biggest message I really want to get out, Dan, is that it's legitimate for everybody to get involved. Um, Whether you're scared of the cabinet or you're scared of the programming or you're scared of the playfield, a sheet of plywood is $50. You can get 4 playfields out of a sheet of plywood. Go out, buy one, cut a bunch of holes in it, drill first, you know, make it first, put cardboard on it, take pencils and draw on it with crayons. I don't, it doesn't matter. Um, you know, as I said earlier, I've never done this, but I know that I can do it just because I'm willing to try. And I think that's where a lot of guys get fearful. Uh, well, and the other part is it's hella expensive. You know, I'm so deep in this now that if I was to quit, my girlfriend would probably disown me, and I would probably be shoved out of the house. She's like, it's like, how far are you into this? I was like, oh, 30, $40. She just looks at me like, yeah, that's a lie. When I dropped that playfield and broke it down, I figured it up. There was $300 in paint on that,
Wow.
$100 in inserts. I don't even want to begin on time. $40 worth of plywood, whatever. So I probably lost $700, $1,000 in dropping that playfield. And the money to me right now is probably the biggest factor. Um, I have a lot of visions, but a lot of monetary blockades. So I just do what I can with what I have. I make tons of stuff, and like Ernie talked about getting ramps, I ordered one of them $30 boxes from Rampomatic, and cut up some pieces, and I'm just like him. I just do the best I can with what I got.
That's amazing. So you're absolutely right on the finances side. Time wise, there's time, there's money, there's also like a confidence to go do it. Now, the confidence piece, you're over that hump, and that's one of the things you've said. It's just like just dive in, drill first in this case, or in Ernie's case,
Absolutely.
head first. The money point I completely appreciate and get. The time piece. Now, you mentioned you've got a family. You've got a girlfriend who takes up time. You've got a job. So how do you make the time for the hobby?
I'm typically gone from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it might be an hour drive time boat one way. So when I walk in the door, I feed dogs. I do take out the trash, everything I can as quickly and as efficiently as I can, and then I go out and I get at least 1 hour a night in the shop, uh, which is never enough. You get out your soldering iron, you get out all your stuff. There's 20 minutes gone. Now I'm down to 40 minutes of fix, and then I'm trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do? And then there's another 10 minutes gone. So, I actually get about 30 minutes, and then it's clean up stuff, put
Yeah.
stuff up, go back in the house, eat, shower, go to bed,
And
start
so
all over.
so there's about 7.5 minutes of
Of
actual.
actual play, yeah, actual work time on the pinball machine. Yeah, yeah, and
to,
you're probably being a little generous there with the 7.5 minutes.
Oh, if maybe it's 6 minutes. It's
Yeah,
10% of the time you allocated is actually time spent on pushing the actual
agreed.
details of the machine forward.
Yeah.
No, and so it sounds like your girlfriend, you joked about it, but she's supportive of your time and of the hobby. Um,
Oh yeah, I've actually drug her to a couple pinball tournaments that I've never been to one, and she's never been around that, and I drug her off to a group here in Alabama called PIP, and they invited us open arms, and we went there. I got dead last, 31st placed, and my girlfriend actually beat me, who's never played pinball before. Matter of fact, she was killing it on the EM machines. They made us play a new machine, old machine, new machine, old machine, and in the brackets, and she was just slaughtering people on the old machines. And it was just, but I could see that twinkle in her eye. And we watched Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game last night.
oh my God,
Uh,
great film.
I was amazingly surprised that I thought it was going to be a boring, just crazy. I loved how Roger actually did his own commentary for his character. I thought it was fantastically done. We both enjoyed it immensely. And how his girlfriend kind of supported him on, how crazy April does the same thing. She watches me go blindly into these projects and thinks, oh my God, how much is he going to spend this time? Or oh my God, what has he got himself to? And she just goes along. She's like, you got this. You want me to play pinball? Okay, sure. And then we come home and we critique machines and what kind of fun time we had. And it's gone from there. And now I've got her almost completely hooked. I've got to push a little harder, but I think I about got her in the loop. We're
So
looking at a machine now, trying to decide what we want. And of course, the first one she gravitated was an Adams Family. I was like, so yeah, pick the most expensive, used, hardest to get game on the planet, and that's the one you want. Yeah, great. You
well,
get it, don't you?
oh,
Yeah,
I absolutely get it. So she likes the EM machine. So is she a nudger as well? She keeps the ball in play, or she's just really good on the flippers.
Okay, so our idea of being good at pinball is uh, stay above the flippers and aim for the flashy lights. We we neither one of us have ever touched many of the new games. So we go to a pinball, and they've got everything, Transformers, all the, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all, Rush, and all this new, and we've neither one ever touched one of these machines in our lives. And she's like, so what do we do on this one? I said, keep the ball above the flippers and shoot for the whatever's flashing.
And Mike, have a good time. Because if you're not having a good time, what's the point
just
of
had
pinball?
fun. And of course, when we walked out of there and I'm in 31st place, my girlfriend's like, "Hey, by the way, did I mention that I beat you?" I was like, "Yeah, I think that came up."
Yeah, but as the case goes with you, from what I've from my limited time in talking to you and interacting with you, you went back another tournament. And how'd you do that
Oh,
second time?
and I ended up fifth. Yeah, we had a blast. Yeah, yeah,
But
but
you never told me how'd she do in that tournament.
uh, really badly.
Look, somebody's got to get first and somebody's got to get last. So
Yes, that's
it's
absolutely right.
so
But
so
we're right now. I mean, we're 1-1 apiece. So
well, Mike, listen, it's been I think you went above and beyond there was, I think, more than 3 minutes of good content here and good information. You've been an absolute blast to talk to. I genuinely
did
hope
did I
this is.
did I cover my BS quota though? Did I
Oh,
get?
absolutely.
Oh,
I think
just
we got
making
more
sure
than
because I
27 minutes of that.
yeah that was very important to me that I did not miss my quota of BS in there.
I hope that this is the start and not the end of our conversations. I have no doubt that you will continue being a major person in the community, major help for others. I can already see it seeing started to blossom. I know that both of us didn't make it out to TPF, but I do hope to see you at a show and see the machine at a show. And if not, I'm coming down to Alabama, or to play on the machine. And if you're gonna have a reveal party or what you plan on doing, but I definitely
Yes,
want to keep hearing about your journey. I also am here to help you if I can help you. I will be one of the people who offers any help that you need. I don't know if I'll be able to help you, but like I
that is
said,
appreciative though because I'm right now. I'm at the point where I am almost at my limit on knowledge, and I'm going to have to start reaching out.
and that's the great thing about this hobby, and the people that it attracts is we're all thirsty for knowledge. We're all willing to learn new things, and we know we're not going to be an expert craftsman the very first time we do it, but by the third or the 10th, maybe we'll have a couple skills to share with others. So,
Absolutely.
Mike,
Hey,
oh yeah,
one thing I do want to say, Dan, is I really want to give some thanks to guys like Jake, Ernie, Mud Flaps on. I don't know who he is, but he's been really good to me. Um, Robert Burke, the king of Chicago
yeah.
pinball, reached out to me, called me physically, and told me that he is rooting for me and that he is excited for me. And I have no idea who this cat is. And then I look him up online and I was like, holy cow, this guy took 5 minutes of his day to call me and tell me that he loves what I'm doing and that he's behind me and supporting me. And that about this community is what's so fantastic. There are good dudes out there, despite the ones who are just there to talk trash. I have been blessed with some amazing new friends and personalities in this world, and I'm thankful for that.
And Mike, we're thankful and blessed to have you in our lives as well, because you're adding to it. You are a core piece of this community. Thank you
Thanks,
very
man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time off out of a Sunday. Tell April thank you for the time as well. I cannot wait to see the bugs get worked out of the machine and to see full play and full sound. And I look forward to continue talking with you. Thanks.
Hey, you have a great day, brother, and I appreciate you.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks for joining the podcast. Thanks for listening, and I can't wait to see what you make.